You're listening to Excellence Above Talent, a podcast where we have the hard conversations about the lives of men and what leads us to achieve greatness and suffer defeat. Hear from other men's journeys as well, as we all learn and grow together to become inspirations to ourselves and those around us. And now your host, Aaron Thomas.
What's up, my beautiful people? Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent. Super excited about this next podcast guest. His name is Coach Q. He's the author of From Chumps to Champs, Get Off the Bench and Get Into the Game, Footprints of Success, Coaching from the Heart, and the founder of Get Off the Bench Consulting. Coach Q is a sought-after thought leader who specializes in developing high-performance people and building championship culture in organizations. A former athlete, collegiate championship basketball coach, and the current women's basketball coach at Odessa College, Coach Q has personally coached professional athletes, collegiate coaches, young leading entrepreneurs, student athletes, at-risk students, and the special needs population. Coach Q has earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Ozark, 2 master's of education degrees in counseling for human development and sports recreation management, and ABD doctorates in strategic leadership from Liberty University, and a doctorate in business administration from California Intercontinental University. Coach Q is also a certified John Maxwell trainer and certified mental performance mastery coach, working with the world-renowned mental performance coach, Brian Kane. Coach Q has served in various positions, such as Students Affair, where he worked as a resident hall director, and student activity director at the University of Ozark. He was able to parlay all this experience into a 20-year plus coaching career, where he was able to engineer an NJCAA National Championship. Only a handful of coaches on the men or women's side to take 3 teams to the NJCAA National Tournament, including 4 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite 8s. Coach Q has helped guide 3 different D1 schools to an NCAA tournament appearance, and in 2010, NCAA Sweet 16 appearance. Coach Q has coached and developed WNBA first and second round draft picks and 30 plus professional athletes. In 2006, he started his basketball trading company, Hoops U, and quickly became one of the best trainers in the area. In 2013, he started his leadership company, Off the Bench Consulting, and became a sought-after leader, helping various student athletes and building and developing some of the top NJCAA players in the country. Super excited to have him, Coach Q. So I'm here with Coach Q. How do you pronounce your first name?
So I pronounce my name Francois.
Okay, Francois
Bedell.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
All my friends call me Q.
Okay, got you. Cause I was like, man, if I say his name, I don't know if I'm gonna say it right. So here with Coach Q, doing a series on the state of manhood. Super excited because I have yet to speak to him or with him, but I've seen him in Odessa doing his thing. So I'm glad to have him on. So first question is, how has the definition of masculinity evolved over the past few decades, and what does it mean to be a man today?
And first of all, I want to say your questions were very, very good and interesting, and I had to take some time to really think, and they were made me kind of pull out some things. But when I think about masculinity, it's used because it's defined as dominance. It's
Gotcha.
defined as emotional restraint or providing others something at little cost, because it's about being a man.
Gotcha.
But as I've gotten older and as I've watched kind of our society grow, I think masculinity is defined. Being a man means being emotionally present, self-aware of, not just our environment, but kind of where we are. It's made me more, as I got my son now, who's 6, it's made me more nurturing. I think masculinity is vulnerable. I think it's a collaboration of all those things put together, and it's just not, toughen up, be a man, no cry, no you're not supposed to show emotions. I do not think real masculinity or men who are really secure in themselves hide those things. And so I really believe that when we show all those things, we're really showing integrity, we're showing accountability, and we're showing emotional resilience. Because we can handle those things and we can express those things to other men. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life.
Got you. So you talked about, a man that's secure. How do you feel like men get there to where they're more secure in who they are and how they live their lives?
Well, I think it's about really improving who you are on a daily basis. And so we're not just talking about it's health. It's getting in the weight room, because if you feel good, you look good, you feel good, you play good, you do all those things good.
Yeah, for sure.
I also think it's about on a daily basis, I'm educating myself, whether it was, not just my master's, my bachelor's, my doctorate degree, not just those things, but, finding things to feed myself every day in different areas, whether it's wealth, health, spiritual. I think those things as they compound, I think you begin to be more confident and more self-aware about who you are, and it's a daily grind of making yourself better, taking care of yourself before you can take care of others.
So you are a John Maxwell.
Yes.
Is it leadership speaker certificate?
Yeah, certified John Maxwell certified coach, and then I'm also a certified mental performance mastery coach through Brian Kane.
Gotcha.
So we work on. John Maxwell has a list of things, but a lot of it's leadership on that standpoint, and then the mental performance standpoint.
So I'm a big John Maxwell guy. And there's a story he has with the axe and the log, and I'm pretty sure you heard that.
Yes,
when you talk about compounding, it makes so much sense, because when you're as a young man growing up, there's a lot of insecurities that that show up, and if you don't have like that me time or that trying to make yourself better or filling your own cup up, then you do over time just if it feels like you're just leveling out, like there is no up or down, there is no motivation to be better or do better. But if you compound and slowly begin to build yourself up, you start to see the endless possibilities you can be as a man, and that's motivating within itself. So
and it's like a bank account. I mean, you can't become a millionaire if you don't save, and I think the things that you do draw interest. Your experiences draw interest. You're putting yourself out there. I tell people, I was in a special ed. I was considered a 504. I was a special ed kid, and was told all the things academically I wouldn't do, and my goal was to define the odds. Like I was gonna figure out how to do the things you told me I couldn't do.
For sure.
I don't think nowadays people in this society nowadays have that kind of drive and mentality. But at the same time, like you said, it's every day doing something that's gonna help you grow. Spiritually, whether mentally, financially, just doing those little things every day. And it don't have to take but 5 or 10 minutes. And if you put those days together, I think you're putting yourself in such a better position. And and I've tried to do that. And it took me a while. I mean, I don't think I really kind of understood that until about 25 or 26. But I was blessed to be around a lot of good men and men who were men, and, showed us the right and wrong. My father was one of those, and uncles and teachers that I had, and really some coaches that really gave me a lot of security and, this is your team, lead, and so you get to practice those things, and athletics helped me a lot with a lot of those things.
Yeah. In what ways can men find purpose beyond societal's expectation of status and wealth?
Man, that was a great question.
Yeah.
And so what for me is like purpose comes from living in alignment with your values, not just chasing validation.
Gotcha.
And a lot of us, we want to chase validation.
Sure.
I have a twin brother, and he chased it a lot, whether by his cars, worked a lot, and then did other things to get money. And so I think we it's really truly trying to live in alignment of your purpose or what God put you into. But finding meaning, to me, I think finding meaning is really through building lasting relationships, because I think our network that we have determines our net worth.
Gotcha.
And so I really feel like all of that is also in your creativity and the things that you try to find to do, and I tell people, find your passion and be creative in different ways, whether that's being an author, whether that's going out speaking, whether that's being a trainer, whatever it is. Try to find different avenues of your passion.
Gotcha.
And they all go into one thing, because training is still coaching, training is still teaching, all those things, but find different mediums to do what you love to do. But the biggest thing is, if you're gonna, that impact.
Gotcha.
That when you give, you said it earlier, when you give, you're gonna get back, and what you give out into the universe is gonna repay you back, and that validation is never a position.
Yeah.
Because you can lead from the front, behind, either side.
Yeah, and still inspire people to want to be better and do better.
Yes. It's not a paycheck. Because I know a lot of people that get paid a lot of money and still miserable. Yeah. Still trying to find their way, still trying to figure out a purpose. But I think it's defining success on your own terms, but also understanding that, to me, wealth and money are tools to bless other people and to put you in a position where you can bless other people. But that's definitely not validation.
Gotcha. You said you're finding your passion or your purpose, and then doing multiple avenues with what you have. And I think that's something that a lot of people get stuck on, because they'll find purpose and they'll feel like it has to be this way.
Yeah.
So you found purpose, and you are a coach, a trainer, a speaker, and an author. Is there anything else that you do?
Yeah, you cover the bases of curriculum design.
Okay.
I design curriculums as well. It's just truly finding different mediums to put your passion and those things. I feel like help you grow, but also, it's like developing different streams of revenue.
Gotcha.
You want to find different streams of inspiration.
Yeah.
To inspire you and to feed you. Because when one thing comes in, another thing's gonna come out, and I just think you just grow, and you just build yourself in so many different ways, and I just compare it to like streams of income.
Gotcha.
You just want to find streams of inspiration.
Gotcha.
And where you can be an impact.
Gotcha.
Because there might be a season where I'm not having an opportunity to speak, but there's a season where I'm having an opportunity to write a book and share my story, which will be a legacy and will be on this earth for a lifetime.
Gotcha.
And many other people will share it. And then it might be developing a curriculum to help somebody go through some things I've gone through. Maybe I can help design something that get them through the rough times. And so,
Gotcha.
I mean, I think your impact is not just in one way; it can be in several ways.
Yeah, that's definitely a nugget. That's definitely something I'm taking with me, and I know somebody else is going to as well. So number 3 is how does embracing vulnerability contribute to a healthier understanding of masculinity?
You know, this is one thing that I really try to be, especially coaching women's sports. I try to be as vulnerable as I can because I feel like it breaks down walls.
Yeah.
You know, because you're depending on the position, you're put in a situation where you might be put on a pedestal or people think you're untouchable, and you want to make people feel like they're not isolated. And I feel like, and I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but men are one of the species that is the most isolated in the world.
Gotcha.
You know, there's, you know, you're the man of the house. You're the direct line from God to everyone else.
Yeah.
And who do you go to get filled when it ain't going? You know,
Where
and
you're
so
supposed to go.
yeah, and when your cup is empty, where do you go? And so I tell people, man, that vulnerability is key to be able to either open up to other men that can see it, or finding, you know, going to counseling, going to talks, finding something. And when you have that vulnerability, I think it truly allows you to touch some parts in yourself. And so I look at it as like an arrow. So an arrow an arrow is kind of useless if you don't pull it back, aim to the target.
Yeah.
But where the arrow gets its power is when you pull back. So when you're pulling back, if we take that in our life, when we pull back and we fix some things and we get vulnerable with ourselves and we look at our childhood and we fix some things, you know, in there, and that arrow goes forward, when it was released and you fix those things, man, you just think about the trajectory that you're gonna go. So now you can get out of your past, and you can leap forward and project into your future. And then you can be very, very productive in your future because you're not holding all this luggage and this trauma and all these things. And so when you have that vulnerability, I think it allows people to kind of be free.
Gotcha.
And you can truly be open and honest with yourself, your emotions, and you can truly find that authentic you when you're able to do that. And so that's where I think we're, as men, if we can embrace that vulnerability, we can empower ourselves to do a whole lot of things.
Yeah. So I know I guess the path that I took to become more open and vulnerable with myself. And it was one of the toughest things I've had to do, because looking at yourself in the mirror, having to deal with like the monsters in your closet, it's not fun, but it's something that needs to be done. Is there something that maybe you can say to someone that could kind of help them get, you know, past that hump of like I'm afraid to look at myself, so that they can start that pullback action to start getting the things in their life fixed, so they can have a better chance of hitting that target?
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of just being, one, real with yourself. Two, I think people have to start talking to themselves in different ways.
Got you.
You know, because we're the first. When we speak those negative things, or we talk, and words of power. You know, life and death is in the tongue.
It is.
And so when we speak those things, we're the first person to hear those things, especially when they come out of our mouth. We're the first person to take that in. So I think the first thing is to start talking to yourself differently.
Gotcha.
You know, and changing your verbiage. And I think once you look in the mirror and you can change your verbiage, and you can be real with yourself, and then sometimes you're gonna just have to cry. Because you know, the only thing that we will understand is we might not understand what's happening, but God understands what's happening, and sometimes He just wants us to cry and let it out and be vulnerable just to cry. But we have to start changing. I really believe it's our verbiage and the language and how we talk to ourselves, and that self-talk is very, very key in healing. But I think if you're not in a place where you want to go talk to somebody, or you're not in a place where you want to let go, but start with your language.
Gotcha.
Start with your verbiage and how you talk to yourself and how you talk about yourself. I think it starts there.
Do you believe in manifesting?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Do you think that also can also help in that process as well?
Yes. Visualizing yourself, seeing yourself. So I tell people this. I'm a big visualization manifest, and I used to do it. I used to talk to myself when I would play. I would talk to myself. When I get this handoff, I'm gonna hit hole A, and I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, I'm gonna be gone, like, touchdown.
Yeah.
And I would say it to myself. Or it coming down on defense, I'm like, I got it. Yep, going two left. I'm gonna get this steal cue. You gonna get this steal cue. You gonna get this steal. You gonna bam, and then it's the steal. And I would just talk to myself. So I do that stuff in my life. I told my former boss, I was at Tallahassee Community College, and I told him, I was like, in 5 years I'll win a national championship. I will hang a banner. And so from that point, when he gave me the job, every day, and I had it everywhere.
Yeah.
On my mirrors, I got, and because I tell people at 55 I'm gonna be a multimillionaire, and I'm gonna develop multimillionaires.
Gotcha.
55, that's on my mirror.
Yeah.
And so I had a national championship ball, I had championship, and every night in the shower I'd visualize it. Every day I was speaking to our ladies, I'm going to win a national championship with or without you.
Gotcha.
So you can come along or
buy in or don't buy in, but it's going to happen. Yeah.
And in 5 years, in 5 years, we won the national championship.
Yeah.
And but no, I think that is a key. But also I'm spiritual. I tell people I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual, and I know what God has put into my life, and I know what He's put on my life. And I tell people all the time, like, He tells us knock, and the door will open.
Yeah.
And seek and you shall receive, and speak and it shall be given.
Yeah.
And I read that when I was a kid, and I don't know why I believed it so much, but that I believe in that, like,
100%.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And so I think, like I said, it goes back to that verbiage.
Yeah.
How you talk to yourself, how you speak, and I think if you speak those things, you can manifest. You can manifest good and bad.
Gotcha.
It goes both
100%,
ways.
100%.
You can manifest good and bad. So I choose to speak towards the future. I choose to speak towards the positive. I choose to speak towards prosperity, wealth, because I think those things are all important.
Yeah. Awesome. So, why is emotional intelligence often excluded from discussions about manhood, and how can this be changed?
But I think because for a long time, emotions have been considered unmanly.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I was told by a coach that I work for, is because I'm very emotional person, and God has given me a weeping spirit, and if you see me crying, like, something's about to happen.
Yeah.
Something's manifesting.
Yeah.
Something's about to happen.
Gotcha.
And they thought it was weak, and but I think we look at emotional intelligence as weak, but it's really I feel like when you have emotional intelligence, you have the power to restrain. Because I think you can go off on somebody, and you
100%.
can. But I think the power is in that emotional intelligence to restrain from opportunities to act crazy or go crazy. Because when you do that, I believe you're giving the other person the power.
100%.
You're relinquishing the power you have by losing control. Yeah. And so I just think it's a threat, but we need to teach young men, and we need to teach young women how to understand it and have that power of control.
Yeah. Because
when you look at social media, you look at the schools, you see so much lack of power, lack of restraint.
Yeah.
And again, I remember when my mom used to tell me, she's like, if somebody put your hands on you, you're gonna fight back.
Yeah, defend yourself.
Yeah. But she's like, except they put their hands on you. If they use words, you walk away.
Yeah.
Because, sticks and stones may break your bones, but she used to tell us, words ain't gonna ever hurt you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is lack of control.
100%.
And so people will say, man, somebody will call me the N-word, and I'd be like, and they were like, that don't bother you? Yeah, but it's a word.
Yeah.
But you know what they gave me? They gave me power.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, how? Because I know where they stand.
100%. People don't understand that. Please tell me you don't like me, because that gives me the power to be like, okay, so when I come around, my energy's going to have to shift for you, because I know how you feel. And it's nothing negative. I respect it.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to do what I got to do, and I'll go about my business. Versus... I'm all for that.
I know, because if I know where you stand, I know how to operate.
100%.
And I know how to move, and so I think emotional intelligence is very powerful. Very, it's not unmanly. It's very, very manly.
Gotcha.
In a sense, if you're able to have that emotional control and that power to resist and restrain, I think you're showing that you're very powerful, man.
Yeah. And that also too is very hard to understand, but once you get it, you get it.
Yes.
When you've always exhibited anger or what's up, meet me outside. But I wasn't upset before I got here. You were upset. And now because you're upset and you're trying to get me out of character, and now I'm out of character, I definitely lost all my power, and I'm going outside to try to fight you and do things that I never had any, when I first started, there was no, I'm going to fight this dude.
Right.
So I definitely gave him all the power.
Yeah.
And that's something I try to teach my young boys now is, if you call him a bitch, it's like the end of the world. And I tell them, you only respond to being called a bitch if you have some bitch in you. And they're like, what? And I said, let me say it again. Yeah. You're only going to respond if it's in you.
Yes.
If it's not, cool, bro. And I'm going about my business. Because I don't have that in me. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, it's the words that are said.
I tell people all the time, for my wife, somebody come up and try to hit on my wife.
For sure.
And it's like, man, I'll be ready to fight. I go, no, that's a compliment.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm like, and I'm not gonna because if I've got insecurities, it's gonna show. If 100%. I'm jealous, it's gonna show.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a compliment. Okay, because you know what? If yours never get hit on, then you might got an ugly one.
Yeah. You got one no one wants. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, I said, and she's with me because I have that power and I have that confidence.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
100%.
I'm okay. And the blessing is, and with that, she respects me even more.
Yeah, 100%.
So.
Because if you get jealous, you're not going to talk to that guy that did it. You and your wife are going to get into an argument over something that she had no control over. Yes. And you had control over it whenever you could be like, okay, cool.
Yes.
I got a baddie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And she with me.
She was with me.
Yeah, so 100%.
Man, I tell people all the time, like, you gave her an opportunity to look at that dude way different because you couldn't restrain yourself.
100%.
And it's little things, but that's how I look at life.
I mess with that for sure. Because at the end of the day, it's like, dog, if this is this is my way. If you can come into my life and take something that I thought was mine, it was never mine to begin with. So you have fun with that. I'm about to learn and figure things out, and then go on about my day.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
I've had that mentality.
I am not going to jail for nobody. Nobody.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to jail. It's not worth it. But I think, like you said, a lot of people don't have that emotional intelligence or that restraint, and that also includes some vulnerability too.
Yeah.
Because You know, it's to me that is, you know, being a man.
Yeah.
That is being a true man.
Yeah. Or and I also think I'm working on being ego-less.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't want the ego, because the ego is something that was created by me. And so, you know, if someone talks to my wife, then I'm like, oh, well, now we, you know, run up, get done up. Now we got to throw hands, because now my ego is bruised. And it's not even bruised for what? I mean, I made him up.
Yes.
So it's not even something that's like legit, but I'm going to find something to create something to where like I can now, you know, get mad at, you know, her or the guy and start something that doesn't need to be started, versus just saying, okay, cool. Like, you know, I appreciate you, you know,
noticing my wife.
Appreciate I appreciate that. And then going about my business. Yeah.
My brother does a talk. He lives in DC. He does a talk, and he has these coins, and he created this talk called Ego. Leave your ego at the door. And he does it with businesses.
Gotcha.
CEOs, and he teaches them emotional IQ. He teaches them vision. He teaches them how to talk to their employees. And but that ego, man, ego has messed up a lot of men.
It'll tear you up,
man.
Especially if you don't check it.
Yeah.
Because if you allow it to continue to fester, it'll just create something that it's not even
exist.
Doesn't even exist.
Yeah. Exactly right.
It is crazy how it can come into your life and make you see things that aren't really there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what steps can men take to overcome societal pressures to suppress their emotions?
Give yourself permission to feel. I think is one thing that is very important. It's a radical act in itself.
Got you.
You know, when you give yourself permission to go through it, like and feel. Like I think a lot of people don't feel. You know, I went through. I got my doctorate, and so I gave myself a gift, and I've been talking about getting a tattoo. For like 10 years to my wife, and my wife was like, you know, and I'm like, I don't do pain.
Yeah.
My wife was like, you ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna do it. So as soon as I graduated, I started this summer on a tattoo, and it's in honor of, I have a twin brother, and it's koi fish. It's
Gotcha.
two koi fish, and one of the koi fish represents going upstream, which is overcoming and coming enlightenment.
Gotcha.
And the other one is the opposite of, you know, adversity, have not overcome adversity, a downward spiral. And so my twin, we're the yin and the yang. We're in those two koi fish. I'm here and he's there, and he's been in and out of prison. A lot of kids, a lot of bad decisions, and so I got it in honor of him, because I really believe every day I look at it, it gives me the motivation to continue to go upstream.
Gotcha.
And but so when I sat in that chair, I said, I'm going to feel all this, because this is going to be therapy. So the whole process, I thought about all my trauma.
Yeah.
I thought about all the things that, you know, as they were inking, I was releasing, because I was feeling it, and it was painful, and in certain areas too.
Yeah.
But when I got done, man, I felt like it was like therapeutic, and I asked somebody, man, is there something real about like ink therapy? And they're like, no, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Because I just made it up in my head, because I mean, this is a major tattoo I had, and but I really found the space where I felt like, man, and through this is where I started finding that I said, I'm 48. I said I got till 50. I'm gonna change my lifestyle, and I got back into working out, and I lost about 25 pounds, gained about 15 of muscle, got in the gym, started changing. I said I'm gonna be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually the man at 50 that God has called me to be.
Gotcha.
And then at 55, I'm gonna bust my butt. 55, I'm gonna make my first meal, and then I know how to do it, and then I'm going to replicate it and show people how to do it. And so my goal is to develop.
Gotcha.
And I feel like all of that came out of truly allowing myself to feel.
Gotcha.
Truly feel life and and then like I said, going back into my past and letting that arrow shoot forward. And man, since then, brother, when I say God has just been moving and blessing, and but I think it allows us to find a safe place. It allows us to get my relationships. I feel like have gotten better. Mm-hmm. I got support around me. Yeah. And we're all on the same page. Yeah. We welcome expression. We just welcome, and it's the group that I'm with is two guys that I grew up with, and to watch them do their thing and us to be so vulnerable where we could talk about like, man, I'm struggling today. Me and my wife got in a fight, and they're like, man, hanging there, but. Have you thought about this, Q? Yeah. Have you thought about this point from her point of view? Have you make you so much better? But they say iron sharpens iron.
100%.
That's what they say. Yeah. And so to truly do that, I think we're able to rewrite narratives. We're able to handle challenges different because you got people feeding. I don't got that person telling me, oh, yeah, you need a divorce. Yeah. I got that person telling me, hey, have you looked at her part? Because, this is work. Yeah. This is work, you know, and this is probably the hardest job you'll have is your relationships. And so, I think that's where we as men can get to that point. And I don't know what will get you there. A tattoo got me there. Yeah. I don't know what it is going to get another person there, but I think when you give yourself permission to feel and open up to some real truths in your lives, I think you get there.
Man, I started this podcast, just men's mental health, because one of my buddies committed suicide from the Army, and it was one of those things where it was eye opening. What could I have done different? Yes, could I have inspired or changed? Who could I have talked to? So this is just a platform where men can come together and just talk to say, yeah, I've gone through this, and this is what I did to figure it out, or hey, I'm going through this now, and then being able to
and it's going to be
sit
okay.
And listen, and it's going to be okay, and you're going to find a way out of it. Yeah. But the to be able to sit and feel what you're feeling, it's something I feel most men don't do. Because we never stop to. Right. Because we feel like we have to always be on. We have to be the provider. We have to be the protector. We have to make sure everyone else is good and see how they're feeling and not check and see, how we're feeling and where we're coming from. And I think that is just, something that if you don't get anything else from this podcast, it's the being able to sit in that feeling of frustration or anger or sadness and process it all the way through.
And it's the same thing as joy, happiness,
for sure,
laughter, love. So one of the things I look back when I wrote my book From Chumps to Champ, people kept asking me, what was it? What did it feel like when you won that national championship? And I was just like, that's a good question. I did. So it made me sit down and absolutely. And so I was like, okay, from the moment I got here, I broke the book down from the first moment I got there to the 5-year journey. Yeah. And that book talks about the 5-year journey. And it allowed me to go back and feel the ups, the downs, the joys, the laughters, the sadness, because we had all that in there. Yeah. And I went back and I was just like, wow. Like all I could do was say, wow. And then what God really gave me was the opportunity to put it in something that was physical, that now some other people can read and like, Q, you went through, like, wow. Yeah. And it wasn't just about me, it was about the journey and about the people that went on this journey with me.
For sure.
And so from that point on, I've I've given myself permission to feel losses.
Yeah.
But I also give myself a deadline. You can only feel this for amount of time, certain amount of time, and then you got to move on to the next thing.
Gotcha.
You got to feel this win and appreciate it, and you got to move on to the next thing.
Gotcha.
Because you can't sulk in hurt, and you can't dwell in victory.
Yeah. This too shall pass.
Yes, and so now you got to get prepared and get your mind ready for the next thing, and so that's kind of how I've been able to get to where I'm at now and feel comfortable, and because it used to be when I first started coaching, man, I used to sulk in everything. I was a sore loser. And now it's just like, okay, because I think what we do as men, and if I could add this, I think what we do as men, we take all these things and we attach it to our worth.
Gotcha. Yeah, we do.
We attach it to our worth, and that ain't our worth.
Yeah.
That ain't our worth, man. I tell people all the time, I said, man, if my wife worked and I was a stay-home dad, my worth is not that I don't work. My worth is that I'm a stay-home dad and I take care of the house just like a stay-home mother would.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the hardest jobs in the world.
One of the hardest jobs in the world. I wouldn't want to do that job.
And I did it for 6 months. I did it for 6 months during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I need to get out. Yeah, I need to get out. Yeah.
This, like, I had more respect.
Yeah.
But we attach wins, losses. We attach all those type of things. What people think, we attach it to our worth, and it's not our worth.
Yeah.
And when we're able to disassociate, when I was able to disassociate those things to my worth, man, I was able to grow and mature and move differently.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So, do you think there is such a thing as healthy competition?
Yeah.
So, so a lot of times, people like to compare, and I used to be try to compare and see, but then I took a step back and was like, well, I don't know what it is that they're going through, but I see them getting up in the morning and taking care of business, and it's more of a motivation not to compare myself with that guy, but okay, so now it's just a friendly competition. I see you, I love what you're doing. And I'm trying to get to that level and beyond.
So I'm with you. Now, comparison is the thief to all joy.
Gotcha.
Now, but you said healthy competition. Now, that's that iron sharpen iron.
For sure.
Deal. So when I see, like, for example, my neighbor the other day, he was like, Q, what are you doing, man? Because I had it cut off. And he was like, you getting ripped up, like, and I said, man, I've been working hard. He said, you making me go in the gym. So
100%.
He's getting in the gym, and it wasn't that he was comparing himself.
Yeah.
But he was like, man, and I'm older.
Yeah.
I'm 16 years older than him, and he was like, hell, you look younger than me. I said, well, it's about choices, and they ain't perfect choices, but I make them a little bit more compound effect choices than you do right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And so now I've seen him for the last month walking. He stopped drinking so much beer, and he's watching his diet, and so I believe that healthy competition, and us men, we have to have that.
We have to have it.
We have to. Yeah. We have to have that to be pushed. And like, I make competition stuff up in my head to keep me moving. Like
100%.
And I tell people when I go to the weight room, like, hell, I'm competing against every coach that I'm coaching against, and they ain't lifting this. Yeah. They ain't here right now. So it's something that pushes, and I think for men, we always gonna have that within us.
It's innate. It was built in us.
But, from cave days.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And so I think there's you're absolutely right. There's healthy competition, but there's not comparison.
Gotcha.
Don't compare. Just have that healthy competition that allows you to push yourself beyond some things, but don't compare. Yeah. Because that's the thief to all joy.
Yeah. And you never know what they had to go through.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to that. So what are some of the most significant mental health challenges men face today, and why are they frequently overlooked? And I would also say, what are some mental health challenges that you face today as well? Two-part question.
So I think what men face today and in this society is acceptance.
Yeah.
I think we face isolation, depression, anxiety, underdressed. We haven't addressed certain traumas.
Gotcha.
That we have, and you know, and I think we mask these things in anger, workaholicness, if that's the word, but we're workaholics because we hide it, and then for some, you know, in sex or substance abuse. Yeah. And I think these things are overlooked by many men because it's talking about, again, that vulnerability of being seen as weak. Yeah. Or I'm in a crisis, or you know, but they've only taught us to be silent about those things. They haven't really taught us to talk about it. And you know, it's funny, my wife, my first year here, and you know, and coming off the mountaintop, I just won a national championship in 2018, and then 19 we had another great year with 29-5, and then I get a Division I job, associate head coach. We're one of the top Division I teams in the country. We're 16-0 in conference, blah blah blah. And I come here and we're 8-17. Yeah. And my wife looked at me one day and was just like, I think you need to talk to somebody. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, what you talking about? You know, she's like, you ain't lost like this. Like, you ain't had this poor success. I think you might want to talk to somebody. And that's the first time, I mean, as far as my career. Gotcha. It's the first time that, you know, I felt all those things. I felt isolation. I was depressed. I had anxiety. I didn't want, you know, I was a failure. Like, I had tied that because I had been so successful. I had tied those things, and I truly had to go back to 2018, and I had to go back and read my book. Gotcha. To kind of get me out of that, and again, did not tie those things. But again, in all those things, I think we tie all that to our worth, which makes us isolated, makes us depressed, makes us anxious, makes us angry. And so when we're able to, you know, deal with those things, again, and it's the question moving forward with, you know, being vulnerable, having emotional IQ, talking to somebody, finding people to talk to, I think we're able to kind of live a life, and we don't have to do the things that society has us, because they want us to, I mean, especially black men, they want us to stay in those situations, you know. And
those roles of what they think, you know, black men should be, or how they should, you know, act and things like that.
Yeah, and being silent, you know, is costing us. Yeah, it's costing us. It's costing us. And so to be more aware and more open to those things, I think makes us better. I tell our girls all the time, great leaders show you your red flags, or make you aware of the things that you're lacking and the things that you're really good at. Great leaders do that. And so if we're around great men, they're going to help us see those things. And I'm around some good men that help us. And also speak life, you know. You know, my business partner and brother, he calls me history, because I made history in 2018, being one of the first black African-American man to win the national championship at the JUCO level. Gotcha. In Division I basketball. And, you know, and it's those type of things when people that are near and dear to you speak life into you. So gotcha. I think those are some of the things that we overlook.
Gotcha. Man, something you said that I feel would help a lot of, you know, other men that kind of get into that mindset of, you know, frustration, anger, depression. God put us through certain things in our life, not sometimes for us to forget, but for us to pull it back up when we're going through tough times, to help us or remind us that what I did for you in 2008 is what I can do for you in 2025. Yes, I am the same guy, so don't get it twisted. Yes, you just have to reset your focus on what you're looking at versus, you know, where you're at right now. And I think that's something that, you know, I'm still trying to process, because it's hard when you're in that moment of frustration and anger to think of that. But, you know, again, when you sit in those feelings, you have to pull from,
Yes.
the things that you have gone through over time and realize, okay, been here, done this, now it's time to go and make things happen versus just kind of sitting in it. Man, that's, to me, that was fantastic. And you have a book you can go back and read. Like I got a book, and the book is called
From Chumps to Champs: The Journey of Building a Winning Program. The other book is called Get Off the Bench, Get Into the Game.
Gotcha.
The Playbook of Successful Life. And then I co-authored 2 other books.
Gotcha.
And Coaching from the Heart, The Untold Stories from Coaches.
Gotcha.
And so I'm the lead author, but I went and recruited 7 other coaches to tell their stories. Because I think they're the most... Coaching stories are the most unbelievable stories.
For sure.
And so I had them share it. And then I was a part of Footprints of Success. I was with 13 other authors. And I share a chapter in that book on leadership.
Gotcha.
And so, and I'm working on a mental performance book right now. And I'm working on a leadership book right now. Yes, sir.
Awesome. And here in our community, here in Odessa, Texas, so you do speaking engagements, things of that nature.
Yes,
so
sir.
they just kind of reach out to you.
Yes, sir.
I'll put all your information on social media and then on this podcast too. Once I get it from you, I think that's super important that people are willing to have these conversations to help inspire, motivate. Businesses and schools and just people of all. So. I think that's pretty awesome. So what characteristics define a healthy male friendship? Because you said you have a couple of guys that you have that conversation with, and why do many men find it difficult to form deep connections?
I think first of all, I think healthy male relationship are just like any other relationship. You got trust, you got mutual support, you got openness, and you got accountability.
Gotcha. And
then, but many men grow up thinking, or are the surface level, because again, that competition, and then the connection. I think sometimes when you connect with people, that trust doesn't allow you to have a deep connection. It allows you to have a surface level connection, but not a deep. But then the vulnerability piece again. As men, we scared to be vulnerable. We scared to be open, and a lot of men are private. I can't share my business, and I can't get too deep. But then again, I think that's where that loneliness common denominator comes in, and we're by ourselves. And the blessing that I have is, the male friends that I've developed all have that support and accountability and that vulnerability, and we're also not scared to tell each other the truth.
Gotcha.
If you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Dog, you wrong on that part.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. That ain't right what you did there. And so they're okay with accepting it. And I think that's where you build that relationship and that accountability, and then going with an understanding that we're here to grow. Iron sharpens iron, and I think there's a spiritual component to the successful ones.
Yeah.
Relationship. There's a spiritual component and a mutual trust and honesty. I don't even think you have to be the same religion. You just have to have the spiritual component, that there's something greater than you within this relationship. And that's where I think we all are. And, I have one of my mentors, Jonathan Jones. He's a strength and conditioning coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And, when I say wise man, and he's taught me a lot. I've learned so much, and it's just his vulnerability to open up and share. And man, when we worked together, it was like every day. I couldn't wait to get to work. Every day we were gonna have a conversation, and we were gonna glean something from. And we came up with so much different things that now we look back on it, that we're living off of those ideas or those words or those visions that each other have. And so I think it could be a real good blessing if it's rooted in the right things.
Gotcha. So how can men balance traditional roles of strength and leadership with the need for equality in relationships?
That's a good question. I would say first, by redefining strength as something that lifts others.
Got you.
Not controls them.
Got you.
Leadership is a relationship. It isn't about dominance.
Got you.
That's a lot of things because, we want to lead with dominance.
Yeah.
It's a partnership, and that partnership comes with listening and shared growth.
Got you.
Towards a direction, because it can be done. All this can be done too. I mean, gangs do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And they have a better understanding of it than we do. But it's leading in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But if we can do this stuff in the right direction, I think we're heading to a place where men don't shrink. We don't shrink when it comes to asking us to be supportive for one another.
Gotcha.
And I hate to say, I think, when you can get past what Billy's got this, or Bobby Joe's got this,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't got it. When I can get past it, I'm genuinely happy for Billy and Billy Bob and Joe. I'm genuinely happy for them.
Yeah.
I think that's where we truly start finding that we strengthen, because I feel like, if you got people around you and they're growing and they got that greatness and that fire is burning, that greatness. Well, hell, if you're in proximity,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a speech the other day at the Rotary Club, proximity greatness, I can touch that fire.
Yeah.
And that is contagious.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at right now with the group of fellas I have. I mean, in proximity to greatness, and we all have our own greatness.
Gotcha.
It's contagious, and we're able to really truly redefine how we want our friendships to be, and not be defined by how our fathers or our grandfathers or society has deemed. We're defining what this looks like and what this is going to be, which I think it expands our growth, it expands our knowledge,
Yeah.
it expands our understanding for the world. Because everybody has a perspective, and now your perspective is one, and it teaches you, like, man, you can't do nothing but succeed.
Yeah.
and grow and build off of that.
Yeah. 2 more questions. We might get to the 10th, but I don't know yet. So why is mentorship crucial in shaping the next generation of men, and how can it be fostered?
So I think mentorship is probably one of the biggest keys. Is really it's huge in John C. Maxwell.
Yeah.
And I think in every good organization, it's part of the key foundation. It gives younger men and women a vision of what's possible. It gives them a blueprint to grow from. And I told you that the standard book that I told you about, it's expect to win, the blueprint. And so all those standards are basically mentoring guides, because I'm mentoring you through this.
Yeah.
And we're gonna live to the standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's what mentors allow you to do, is gives you a blueprint of what that standard looks like to live up to.
Yeah.
Without it, it leaves people kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's like a great dad, or great mother. They're mentors. But when you look at some people that did not have a father, you look at kind of how they're just kind of aimlessly wandering on how to be a dad.
Yeah. Trying to
or
figure
how
it
to be
out.
a mother, and trying to figure out, because nobody kind of gave them that guide, that blueprint.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important that we have those mentorships, but I think the way we foster it is by mentoring, by taking on 1 or 2 people, by taking on young people, but taking on opportunities to give back in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me in the profession of athletics and women's basketball. We just got back from the Final Four, and a gentleman introduced me as his mentor, and I was like, I didn't know I was a mentor. And he goes, everything this man has told me. And we talked a long time. I didn't know he was taking the information
Gotcha.
as mentoring. And he's like, this man has guided me, and he through my whole career. And I'm looking, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't process it as that. I was just sharing information.
Yeah.
Because no one did it for me.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's one of those where I think some people have it innately, and then some people have to work at it.
Yeah.
But I think we can foster it by just doing it.
Yeah. That's one of those another moments where when you start to feel down in yourself, or you start to feel like, am I doing enough? It'll pop in.
Yeah.
This guy who I thought I was having a conversation with walked up and said I was a mentor, and all I was doing was just speaking what it is that, you know, was in my heart, or that guy was telling me to speak, and he took it and made his life better. Yeah. So, you know, it's sometimes, and it's very quick. You can get like that negative, like, you know, am I doing enough?
Am I where I'm supposed
am I worthy?
to be?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then it's like, I am, you know, and you have to walk in that. I did a video today where I started to realize most of my life I've tried to chase friends and, you know, chase jobs and chase careers and chase organizations that I want to be a part of. And they never saw the awesomeness of me.
Yeah.
God created me awesome. Yeah. And it's not a confident or a cocky thing. That's just real life.
Yes. And
I'm not, you know, I gotta not be afraid of like, dude, I am awesome. And if you don't want to like get to know me or learn who I am, that's totally
okay. Fine.
Yeah. That is on you.
Yeah.
But I will go and get around people and make and inspire and make them better, because that's just who God has called me to be.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be afraid of it or afraid to say it, because I know it's a proven fact. You know, I have seen it. Yeah, I've seen it in my life over time and time again.
Yes,
so I know it's not something to where it's a one-off. So there is no fear of, you know, saying these things and believing these things.
He didn't give us a spirit of one either.
100%.
Yes,
so just, you know, walk into it and be like, yeah, I am. I am a badass, and that's totally fine. If you don't think it, there will be people in my circle that 100% believe it. And these are ones that we can then start to create and make things whole. And so it's a motivation for me, because you said you have a group of men, and I think when men come together and start having these conversations, it can only make you better.
Yes, sir.
If you're open and you're honest and you're being real with each other, it can only push you to make you better.
Yes, sir.
And so now in my head, I'm like, that's something now that I need to begin to cultivate, because in the beginning of the year, God told me, like, you gotta, you know, I'm open, but not open enough to create spaces to have friendships with men, because I don't want them to, you know, it's that dumb mentality of like weakness and things of that nature.
No, I get it.
But hearing it now from you, and you saying that y'all are in it, and while in it, y'all are, you know, you're creating things that you never thought you could create because you're having these conversations.
And I never knew, man. So my first experience, Aaron, of having like real, genuine male companionship. Like I was at Tallahassee, and there's a brother named Equan, a brother named Lamar Hamilton, Coach J, Rob Meeks, myself, TJ Braxton. We all worked at the school. Yeah. And Kevin Powell and all these people, these men came together, and man, they were dynamic in every way. Yeah. And that was my real experience of a group of people choosing me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Choosing me.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, for
sure.
me. 100%.
And we have stayed a close knit, you know, and then we added some people. Yeah. Hinton Battle, Joe Cohen, you know, and it just, you know, as you go down the line, and everybody has their greatness, and they bring it, and it's an amazing experience. And I used to tell, I said, man, if we got all under one roof at the same time somewhere, somebody in trouble. Yeah. You know, because the things that will be, and I understand now why, you know, in society, they tried to, all the things that we've gone through, redlining and prison reform and all these things, is because, and welfare, taking the black dad out of the house, they can't afford us to be the way God intended us to be. We are the Black Panther.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In that sense. And
there's power in it.
Yes. And it's absolutely amazing when you're able to get around a group of gentlemen that have a standard that help guide a light. In your weakest moments, they can be there. In your toughest times, they're high-fiving you. And, a gentleman said something the other day at the Rotary Club, Mr. Hank. He runs the Permian Basin. What is it called? He runs the Permian Basin where he helps people here in town with.
Oh, was he in the Air Force?
Yes.
Yeah. I forgot his name.
Amazing man.
Yeah. Hank is pretty cool.
And he talks about we don't give hands up. We don't give handouts. We give a hand up. And I was just like, man, powerful.
Yeah.
But men like himself, like we connected. And just adding men to your circle that have a standard and energy, and so those that's the fun part of having this wisdom and knowledge that you're okay to step out.
Got you. Last question, because I know you have to get out. How have movements for gender equality reshaped societal expectations for men, and what does healthy masculinity look like in its context?
That's a
this one was a doozy because it's I want to dig more deeper with this one.
I feel like gender equality has challenged men to examine certain privileges and kind of redefine our roles in a sense, not as protector of power, but as partners in progress.
Got you.
So I'm kind of feel like we kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't.
For sure.
But at the same time, I think healthy masculinity today means being secure enough to share space.
Got you.
To share space, but also know that this is my space.
100%.
And I'm confident in this being my space. Now that could be your space.
Yeah.
But this is my space.
Yeah.
And this is, what I believe and how I feel, but I'm giving you, your space, and you have every right to feel the way you feel. And I support how you feel, but this is my space.
Yeah.
And I feel the way I feel, so I should have every right to be able to feel. And I believe in that we're able to elevate each other.
Yeah.
And we can stand in some type of fairness in a sense, but to be politically correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking on the spiritual realm. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We can go deep into that, but it is what it is.
There's a hierarchy of your role and your place, and
and that is for you.
Yeah.
I think individually,
for sure,
that is an individual. I can't speak on someone else's life. That is your God, your talk with Him, your relationship. Because I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in.
Gotcha.
But we'll all be judged at some point, and my thing will be different, yours will be different, and so that's your personal relationship. But I feel that with that, if we honor each other's space and we respect each other, then we still have to figure it out how to grow.
Yeah.
Within this, because it is what it is. I mean,
'cause we ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going nowhere.
We gotta figure it out.
It's like life in 2019. Life, as we know, completely changed, and it'll never be the same.
Correct.
COVID is complete. It'll never be the same. So we've got to figure out how to deal, handle, and work together in this shared space. And still keep your integrity and operate the same, but with respect.
Gotcha. Man, awesome podcast. So is there, you got like a Facebook, Instagram? How can people reach?
I do. I can be reached. I'm working on my website, my new website right now, but I can be reached. And sorry, I have to go in here and look because I don't know none of my handles. I can be reached at Dr. Q Bedell on Instagram.
Okay.
I can also be reached at Coach Q Leadership, Q Leadership Coach on Instagram, and then on Twitter, my Twitter handle, and I have several. I have coaching and I have leadership one. My leadership handle for is Off the Bench, and it is FQ Bedell at FQ Bedell on Twitter. Is where I can be leaked, and my LinkedIn is Francois Bedell. You look for Francois Bedell, and Facebook is Francois Bedell.
Got you. And how can they get your books? Is your books?
So my books are on Amazon. They can purchase them on Amazon, or they can reach out to me, and I can send them a PayPal link, and I can mail them the book with an autograph signature.
Gotcha.
They can contact me on any of those social media platforms, DM me, and I can get them a copy of whatever book they want.
Got you. So y'all can't say, yeah, we got somebody here in Odessa that's doing they thing, and inspiring and motivating and making a change. And I think that's pretty amazing.
And if people are looking for speakers, curriculum, customized workshops, I do all of it.
Gotcha.
I'm not very high, but we can customize a price to work anybody's budget.
Got you. Awesome. So if anyone hasn't told you today that they love you, let me be the first to say I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing. You deserve the best that this world has to offer. Do not quit. Do not give up. The world does not get easier, but you get stronger. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And for daily motivational and up-to-date content, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Excellence Above Talent. And remember, keep moving forward, never give up, and you are never alone in this battle. We'll see you next time.